Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
The year 2020 is different than other years, and I spoke about it. First is a COVID year, in which the whole world is suffering at the hands of the Chinese. The virus came from there, and I don't think so they've done well to mitigate anything. In fact, they continue to make the world suffer. And that is how the Chinese are being looked at very differently this year. Along with that, if they are pushing themselves on the Indian borders or the South China Sea, in Taiwan and against Vietnam or countries along South China Sea, I think this is a strange phenomena which has happened this year, in which on the Indian borders, the usual patrols were like usual patrols, and they come and try to dominate their own area. But this time they have come into certain areas and haven't gone back. Not only that, haven't gone back. In PP-14, they came and they put up certain tents in a very sensitive area in the Galwan Valley, which would, over a period of time, give them surveillance onto a very sensitive area such as the SDBO, completely not acceptable by the Indian troops. And that is how the skirmish happened. The team went for verification because the Corps commanders had agreed that they would remove the tents. They did not remove the tents. In fact, they laid an ambush on our troops who had gone there for verification. As a counter to it, when Indians also responded, there was a heavy casualty on their side. Of course, we know about our total. We are more open about it. We count 20, and I think they have a very large casualty. The reports can be anything about 50, 55, as is being spoken about. This is not a usual year. We've not had troops going in for this kind of unusual fight, not using the weapons and the firearms, but using some very unconventional ways of killing the soldiers on ground. This is completely unusual. The disengagement, as we talk about, obviously a number of Corps commanders meetings have happened. You're aware that last week we had the 4th meeting. What goes on in that meeting is obviously not public, and not that I would know more than anybody else. But how it usually happens is that between the two commanders, they would land up speaking something justifying the action of their respective troops. And on ground, once the troops are there, in the realm of suspicion, very difficult for the troops to vacate a ground, maybe with a belief that the opposite party just might come and occupy those areas. So it happens very, very deliberately with a lot of caution, and it takes a lot of time. It will happen in multiple steps, as I would understand with my experience. Commercial grade satellites are being provided all over. There's a lot of privatization which has happened in the space. Anybody can really buy these satellite images. Commercial grade satellites obviously are being flashed on the media, and media is also giving out a lot of comments based on that, and assessments based on these satellite imageries. Actually, the military, professional military, would know that they are being looked at. I think some of the images which I saw of the Chinese tanks and trucks and some tents are, I think, more on display to the satellite. Why would they reveal everything in the open only to be picked up by a commercial grade satellite where the resolution is not very good? I do not know how many troops are there in the trucks. I do not know whether the tents have a number of troops living in them. I do not know if the tanks have got fuel and ammunition, or if the tanks are dummy or real. Obviously, some tank tracks were also shown there. Maybe a few tanks have shown the tracks. But if we believe all that is what is being shown and how the assessment is being made, obviously Chinese have gone into those areas. As a military commander, I would look at those areas where we have not been able to catch certain movements. I think I would look into certain areas where the Chinese could be hiding rather than revealing their positions. Something could be more than this, or something could be less than this. So I do not put too much into what the satellites are showing us. These are commercial grade, low resolution satellites. I suppose the military would know better because they will have better resolution. The military grade satellites and their assessments would be far better. The military would be much more better informed about it. And similarly, they would take their actions based on their information. If you continue to send more divisions, obviously you would expect the same thing to be done by the adversary. Yes, at the moment, the force accretion, as I understand from the media reports, is happening, which is logical. If the PLA continues to build, obviously we will be constrained to build more forces there. It is the understanding between the two countries if you want to militarize that area. With the kind of force levels, of course, would be a force on force, foot soldiers on ground. But we being two nuclear armed nations should not invest in over-militarizing our borders, because there can be accidents on the borders and the escalation can be very dangerous. Because you have other elements such as missiles and nuclear warheads. That kind of escalation will be very difficult for both countries to manage, because it will bring in great devastation. We will both going for greater reverses. More sensitive is that we have Pakistan on our western borders also equipped with the nuclear weapon. So this is a very dangerous triangle. And over-militarization, of course, is to be done with a lot of caution and calculation. I suppose to deter war, sides have to become more matured and ensuring that militarization of this order does not take place.